Feeling overwhelmed? Searching for someone who truly gets it? At J. Branch and Associates, we provide mental health support for BIPOC communities, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and others facing unique challenges. We understand the weight of generational trauma, the struggles of identity, and the pressures of being a part of an underestimated and overlooked group. At J. Branch and Associates, therapy isn't a one-size-fits-all. We create a safe, culturally aware space where you can feel seen, heard, and understood. Finding a therapist who truly fits you matters, and that's exactly what we're here for. Our team of highly trained licensed therapists bring compassion, empathy, and real-world experience to help you on your journey to healing and growth. We're committed to helping you become the best version of yourself. Ready to take the next step? Visit us at www.drjbranch.com for more information, or call or text 404-436-2540 to schedule your free 15-minute consultation. You can also book your first session today. Thank you for choosing J. Branch and Associates, therapists of color providing exceptional care to BIPOC communities, quality service, exceptional care from authentic professionals.
Three parallels. Yeah. Three parallels. Yeah. Three parallels.
Three Parallel Podcast. Come take this walk with me.
Welcome back to the Three Parallels Podcast with your host, the Dr. Jason Branch, where we rediscover who we once were, we embrace who we are, and we make room for who we're trying to become. Today's show, you are in for a treat. But before we dive into the show, I have to give my disclaimer. It's 2025, and I need you to be reminded, I am not your therapist unless I'm your therapist, okay? So don't be out here in these streets. Yeah, Dr. Branch said I need to do this and that. No, okay? Unless I am your therapist. Don't be out here saying what I'm telling you to do, because I don't tell people what to do, okay? As a therapist, I don't give advice. I don't tell people what to do. So my disclaimer, this show is not a substitute for therapy, okay? Get you a therapist. Go find you one. Get you one. Even if it's not me, find you someone to work with and not use this podcast in a replacement for therapy, because it's not. So disclaimer, done. Moving on to the side. The next piece that I want to discuss is your comfort zone. Yes, indeed. Your comfort zone. Let's talk about it. Your comfort zone is where all of us choose to live more often than not. Let me give you an example. I don't care where you live in life. I have no idea. I don't really care where. What I do know for sure is your temperature is set at whatever degrees you set it at. And it don't move, it don't change. The only reason it does move or does change depends on the weather outside. Listen, we finna go deep real quick, okay? Get your notebooks, get pen, paper, get whatever you need to get, because we finna go there. And we going there real quick. So if I'm looking at stepping outside of my comfort zone, I got to be willing to do things I've never done before. Typically, we set our thermostat to whatever is comfortable for us, and we don't move it until it gets uncomfortable. But imagine if you decided for once to be okay with being uncomfortable. Imagine one time. You ain't got to do it all the time. One time I decide the temperature is changing outside. The temperature is changing inside, but I'm choosing not to move. I'm choosing not to do anything, because what I usually do is my norm. And more often than not, when I'm doing my norm, it's what is most comfortable for me. The challenge for this episode, it's intentional, and the challenge is for you to become comfortable being comfortable. It's for you to become comfortable being uncomfortable. I'll say that again. The challenge for this particular episode is for you who is listening right now to become comfortable being uncomfortable. What that looks like is not adjusting your thermostat at all, but adjusting you instead of the thermostat. Let me give you an example. It's getting cold outside. We turn up the heat, right? That's us trying to control using the situation that we have, or the mechanism that we have to control our situation. So I'm going to turn the heat up. If I'm choosing to control me, instead of turning the heat up, let me go put a jacket on. Let me go put a sweatshirt on. Let me go put a hoodie on. Hoodie's coming. Merch is coming, okay? I'm going to get y'all some hoodies to rock. But that's me choosing to use items that's around me for me to get more comfortable. But that's me choosing not to be uncomfortable, but allow myself to learn whatever I need to learn in order to become the version of me that works best for me at this time. Your comfort zone is your old self. What's uncomfortable when life happens or we choose for things to happen, that's when we get to decide who we're going to be. And if I'm deciding who I'm going to be, I get to create that person while I grow, while I shift, while I change. And in order to grow, shift, and change, I got to be willing to step outside of my comfort zone intentionally. Because many of us change based on our lived experiences, a relationship, a job, a career, family stuff, loss, you name it, experiences, exposure, education, you name it. A lot of these things that happen to us is the reason that we change. And what I want to challenge you on is stop waiting for life to happen in order for you to change and choose to be intentional about the things that you're doing and not doing in order to change based off of what works best for you. Now, how do we do that? I'm so glad you asked. For me, the simplest way to begin the process of changing your life is to be willing to do something new, different, and or uncomfortable every single day. Doesn't matter what it is, but I'm choosing to do something new, different, uncomfortable. Why would I recommend that? Because that's exactly what I do. And I've done for over a decade now. Every single day, I try to find a way to do something new, different, uncomfortable. So who I am now is nobody compared to who I was a decade ago. Because I'm constantly, intentionally going to put a sweatshirt on instead of changing the temperature in my house. Instead of trying to control everything, let me control what I can, and that's me. Told y'all we in for a treat. Well, I am, even if y'all not. So, first thing, new, different, uncomfortable. Write it down. What can I do today? That's new, that's different, that's uncomfortable. What can I do tomorrow? New, different, and uncomfortable. Now, understand when you are making these changes, making these waves to become a better version of you, it works in small incremental changes because nothing changes drastically until drastically life happens. But if I'm being more in control of what I'm trying to do, then I'm making small micro changes over time. The micro changes will lead to the macro changes. Micro changes, small things. Let me go put a sweatshirt on. Macro changes, I'm in a house. I don't even need to adjust the temperature, adjust on its own. Ooh, come on. Yeah, that's an Apple product somewhere. Shout out to Apple. Y'all gonna pay me one day. Shameless plug. Shameless. Okay. Because that's me right now. My point is, if I'm willing to do the small things, then the big things is nothing for me. It's not a big deal because I've done so many of the small things over time. And more often than not, when we are stuck, when we don't do certain things, it's based on fear. It's based on what if. It's based off of thoughts and ideas that you have in your mind that may not ever happen in reality. How do we know? Think about anything you've ever thought about in life and what that looks like in real life. It's not the same. It's never the same. Whatever picture, movie you create in your head will never be your reality based off of how you thought it to be. Now, you can dream and create and build all these things that you want, and you'll have them and you'll feel a certain kind of way. But just because you think it to be a certain way doesn't mean that's what it is. Let me break that down a little bit. Before you ever done anything that you've ever done or did, you had a thought or belief about it. Think about that dream job that you always wanted, and then you got it. Think about that marriage you always wanted, then you got it. Think about kids before, and then when you got them. Think about all these things that you wanted before you got it, and when you got it, it was very different than how you thought it would be when you were thinking about it. There's nothing in this world, in my opinion, that's exactly what you thought it to be when you actually receive it. Nothing. The feeling, the emotion, the thought, it's always different because what we think is just that, what we think. It's an opinion, it's a perspective, it's an idea. It's not what we know. What you know comes from what you do. It's based on what you do. When you know something, it's because you've done something, you've experienced something. When you think something, that's just my idea of what things could be based off of past experiences that I've already had. But how can that past experience connect to what I'm doing currently, which I've never done before? I hope I'm not getting too deep. If I am, get your snorkeling gear together because we're going to go deep. We're going to go in that basement. When I think about the basement, when I think about us as people, I use a lot of analogies and metaphors. It's kind of what I do. I look at us as an onion. And in that onion, there's a core or a root in that onion. The reality is we can never see the core or the root of the onion without peeling back layers first. Those layers of an onion is macro. I'm sorry, micro level. The layers is micro. What's macro is the big layers, right? The big change, the big onion. We go from one onion to the next. The micro is the layers, macro is the whole piece. Because as I get to that core of who I thought I was or who I actually am, then that opens the door for me to be a whole new person. Because whenever you discover who you are, you have to create separation between who you once were and who you are now. That's the old version, current version, future version. Those three parallels, that's why the show is what it is. We're moving from parallels from who we were to who we are to who we are becoming. And in order for you to become the person that you see yourself as, you have to be willing to do things you've never done in order to be that person. And that's where we get stuck because it's so hard to be uncomfortable. It's human nature. But I want to challenge you today to begin making small changes to become a better version of you. How? I'll give you more. New, different, uncomfortable. That's the first thing. Second thing is wordplay. That's the first. Second is wordplay. What I mean by wordplay is your definition, your thesaurus, your vocabulary is based off of what you've always been taught and told or what you know. Many of us have a certain vocabulary and it does not change. You've been saying the same thing since 91, 92, 99, 2001, 2002. You've been saying the same thing. I'm going to do that one day, right? Or I should be doing this or I should be doing that. These are all rules of engagements from the past, but that's not who you are anymore. Who you are is very different than who you once were. Who you're becoming is very different than who you once were. But if I'm not doing the work to determine who I am and who I am not, then I'll get stuck. And many of us are stuck in our own homes, own spaces, or in the past. So wordplay is choosing to use words, language that aligns with the current version of you or the future version of you. So start speaking life into existence instead of speaking death. I'm going to do it one day, that equals death because one day doesn't exist. I'm going to do that on Tuesday, that exists. That changes everything. So you went from one day to Tuesday, therefore there's a goal there. Whatever day it is, there's a goal versus someday. You've been saying someday since the 2000s. It's 2025, boo-boo. It's time. And in order for that change to happen, your language, your vocabulary has to change as well. Here's another one. If you ever use the word should, I should have did this. I should have did that. I should be this. I should be that. Those are rules and laws of engagement from your past self, which means you can never do anything different. The should is damning, is shaming, is judging, is guilting yourself to do something that you don't even want to do. You don't even want to do it. Because if you would have did it, or if you would do it for you, then there's no should there. There's an opportunity, meaning I get to do these things, not I should do these things. There's a difference between the two. And guess what that difference is? You. You make the difference. So change your language. If you say you can't have, can't do, can't, you're absolutely right. Whether you say you can or can't, you are absolutely right. You get to decide every single day who you are and who you are not. So your language, your wordplay, I would challenge you to be mindful of the things that you say. Are you speaking life to yourself or death? I'm sure that more often, based off of where you are in life, you speak more death than life. And if I'm wrong, let me know. I'm okay with that too. But speaking death is should, shame, guilt, judgment. That speaks death. Saying what you can't do, saying what you want to do, saying what you don't want. What's the relevance of it? The past. None of the things that you've said will propel you forward. It will keep you stuck in the past. I'm just telling you what I know, not what I heard. Don't test me, test yourself. Okay, test yourself. Think about the things that you're saying. Think about where you are right now. Think about those things that you said that you was going to do in 2024 and didn't happen. Why it didn't happen? Because you said it wasn't. You spoke it. So instead of speaking death, I would challenge you to speak life. Next, transition, transformation. The transition and transformation is becoming a better version of yourself by changing the rules of engagement. There are a lot of rules of engagement that we live by based off of someone who gave those things to us. Parents, guardians, backgrounds, exes, divorce, whatever. Whoever you connected with gave you some insight, some information. You took that insight and information and made it law. Here's an example. Happy wife, happy life. You ever heard that term before? I'm sure you have. Especially for a lot of men, it's a belief that in order for my life to be happy, my wife need to be happy. But that excludes me as a person. Because if it's happy wife, happy life, where's the husband? Doesn't exist. It's a belief that many men have, and I'm sorry, I can't say we because I'm not a part of that group no more. I believe happy house, happy spouse, happy wife, happy husband, happy period. And I'm not responsible for your happiness. That's where I live now. It's a whole new place because we are not responsible for anybody else's happiness. So this belief, happy wife, happy life, if I live this way, then I'm sacrificing myself for the greater good, meaning I'll do whatever necessary to keep my wife happy. But how can I do that if she's unhappy within herself? That means there's nothing I can do to change or shift her happiness. But there are things that I think I could do, gifts, jewelry, whatever the case may be, to increase her happiness. But some people are just not happy. Doesn't matter what you do, say, or think. They're just not, and it's not our responsibility. But if I'm living by those rules of engagement, then I make it my responsibility. So now I'm depressed, I'm stressed out, I'm anxious, I'm broke. All these things because I'm pouring myself into this person, hoping that what I do will change them instead of putting that energy towards myself to change me. As you can see, for those watching, I'm out here in the wilderness, right? I'm out here in these woods, out here in the mountains, because this is the greatest place for me to be. And I want to challenge you to be in the same thing. What do you notice? Solitude. Because I can only control or change myself. So the belief, happy wife, happy life, is a rule of engagement that may not work for you anymore. It's time to consider something different, a different perspective. What's a different perspective? Happy home, happy life. Happy life, happy home. Happy whatever. Happy me, happy we. I don't care what it is, but it has to be something different than what you've had before because the rules of engagement from the past keeps you just there in the past. And I want to pick on our aunties for a minute. Hey, aunties. I love my aunties. If you don't know by now, I love all my aunties, right? And one thing that I learned from aunties at times is some of these sayings, right? So me growing up in the South, having some time in the South, I hear a lot of superstitions, a lot of things, and a lot of those things have meaning behind it based off of the person who says it or it happened to them. But just because they say it or it happened to them doesn't mean it happens to you or happens for you. So there's this saying that's superstitious. A lot of aunties say, don't never buy a man the shoes because he'll walk out of your life. True story. I'm not making this up. Ask auntie in the South. Don't buy a man shoes because he'll run out of your life. Don't buy a man a watch because he might waste your time. I just want to give you some of these stereotypes and beliefs and these myths about things that's being said that some people live by. Now you live by them yourself. It may not be as ridiculous as that, but you may live by it yourself. Now, let's break down this concept. The reality is, auntie bought the man she was dating at the time some shoes, and they broke up. So she equated the breakup to a pair of shoes. Same thing with that other auntie that a relationship ended, and she bought him a watch. He wasted my time. No, he didn't waste your time at all. It was a mutual decision. So in my belief, in my opinion, new rules of engagement, any relationship that doesn't work out is an opportunity. You don't lose anything based off of your beliefs. You do. So I believe I wasted my time. You're absolutely right. But to me, how can you waste time if you're learning something? In every relationship you've ever been in or the one you're in right now, you are learning something. What are you learning? About yourself, not the person, not the relationship. You're learning about yourself. That's where your direction, your focus can be on self. But we're not worried about self if I'm spending so much time thinking and worried about everybody else. Hashtag happy wife, happy life. I ain't thinking about me. So there are other rules that we've been taught and told, male, female, whatever else in between, that we were taught to live by, that we still live by, that doesn't serve us to this day. It hurts us, it damages us. There's guilt, shame, and judgment around how we choose to live life. Let me give you another example of wordplay. The word selfish has a negative connotation to it, depending on who you ask. So if I don't want to be associated with the word selfish, then I will never do anything for me. That makes it seem like I'm selfish. So instead of using the word selfish when it comes to taking care of yourself, just use a different language. I now say that I'm putting myself first. I don't say selfish. That word don't even come out of my mouth. Why? Because everybody has a belief and opinion about the word selfish. So instead of me giving you an opportunity to judge me, let me tell you what I am doing and what I am not. That's a different version of me because I speak differently based off of the person that I am right now. I would challenge you to speak different based off of the person that you are right now. You make well over six figures while you still eating like you in the hood. Ooh, you drive a really nice car. Why do you feel the need to stunt? You good. You're doing well, right? Why are we overcompensating or trying to compensate for who we used to be? You don't have to do that anymore. So the challenge is, how do I catch up to my better self? So a lot of us are doing well. A lot of us are doing better. A lot of us are doing better than others, and regardless of how well we're doing, if I don't think I'm doing well, I'm absolutely right. I'm absolutely right. It's not enough. And for many of us, I don't care what you have, who you are, what you do, it's never enough. Why? Because that's the old you haunting you. You haven't embraced this new current version of yourself. So let's go back. New, different, uncomfortable every day. How can I do better? Number two, wordplays. Change your narrative, change your language, change the things that you say. Number three, change the things that you do. Change the things that you do. You go the same route to go to work every day, try something different. You go to work and do the same thing, drink a little coffee, shoot shit, play, do about 2 hours worth of work, and go home, do something different. Okay. If you hate your job, do something different. If you hate your spouse, do something different. Hate your life, do something different. Just try to do different things, not the big things, but the small things. Work on a micro level. The macro will come. So I'll share all this to encourage you to do something different to get out of your comfort zone. I don't know any other way that we grow and change intentionally outside of stepping outside of our comfort zone. The people that disturb me the most are those who say they don't like something they've never done, that say they can't do something they never tried, that's never given themselves permission to be exactly who they are because they still living by the rules of someone who's no longer here, physically, mentally, emotionally, you name it. It is your responsibility to become the better version of you. And you've already done that by tapping into this podcast, by tapping into this episode, because every episode you're getting something. And if you don't get anything from it, therefore, you need to come back to it because you're not ready to receive what's being offered at that time. But if this episode has been a blessing to you in any way, shape, form, or fashion, don't keep it to yourself, share it. Because this could be the seed that's planted to grow something or someone to a space that they've never been before. This episode represents a pebble that's being thrown in the pond. And anytime you throw a pebble in the pond, it's going to make ripples. I need you to make ripples this year. It's 2025. There are enough excuses because we all got them. I want you to take action. And I want you to take action on a micro level. Start small. New, different, uncomfortable, brush your teeth with the opposite hand. Wipe your ass with the opposite hand. Yep, I said it. Some of y'all been wiping your butt, same hand, all these years. It didn't turn brown. Switch hands. See what happens. See what happens. And I can't wait to meet some of y'all on the street. Dr. Branch, you won't believe what happened. Look at my hands. They different now. I got new muscles I never knew I had before. Just do something different. So for me, I'll share this publicly because we family. What I'm doing different for 2025 is creating better schedules, systems, habits, and routines. That's my overall goal. Because I expect if I'm able to do this and I'm able to maintain it, I don't know who I will be by February. I don't know who I'll be by 2026. I don't know who I'll be, but I'm much more curious to figure out who I'm going to be because I know exactly who I am. Known this person my whole life. Who I'm about to become, I have no idea, and I can't wait to meet them. I hope you have the same energy. If not, you can choose today. Next week's episode. Ooh, I got some heat coming. I got some heat. I hope y'all ready. Listen, we got a guest next week, and I'm just gonna I can't give y'all too much because I need you to have some time in between to develop whatever you need to embrace what's being offered. Because every episode, every week, you're going to get some new and different things. I would challenge you, whatever stands out to you, whatever makes you feel some kind of way, dive into that. Okay, whatever you feel moved to do that. Don't question it, don't challenge it, just do it and figure it out after the fact. Take more risk, be willing to be uncomfortable, be willing to speak your piece, say your truth, and stand in your greatness. This has been another episode of the Three Parallels Podcast with your host, the Dr. Jason Branch, where we rediscover who we were, we embrace who we actually are, and we make room for the better version of us. If this episode has been a blessing to you in any way, shape, form, or fashion, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Share it, share it, share it. Give it away. You know, that negative person you know of, that person that get on your last nerve, that person that's doing the best they can with what they have, that person in that horrible relationship, at that horrible job, in that horrible house, whatever it is, give it to them and let them decide what they want to do with it, just like somebody gave it to you, and you get to decide what you want to do with it. Much love. Happy New Year. Grace, space, patience in your process. Much love.
Feeling overwhelmed? Searching for someone who truly gets it? At J. Branch and Associates, we provide mental health support for BIPOC communities, Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and others facing unique challenges. We understand the weight of generational trauma, the struggles of identity, and the pressures of being a part of an underestimated and overlooked group. At J. Branch and Associates, therapy isn't a one-size-fits-all. We create a safe, culturally aware space where you can feel seen, heard, and understood. Finding a therapist who truly fits you matters, and that's exactly what we're here for. Our team of highly trained licensed therapists bring compassion, empathy, and real-world experience to help you on your journey to healing and growth. We're committed to helping you become the best version of yourself. Ready to take the next step? Visit us at www.drjbranch.com for more information, or call or text 404-436-2540 to schedule your free 15-minute consultation. You can also book your first session today. Thank you for choosing J. Branch and Associates, therapists of color providing exceptional care to BIPOC communities, quality service, exceptional care from authentic professionals.